Hey guys, good morning. I just wanted to bring up a personal story that I lived through as a kid that might explain to you a little bit why this story of Summer Wells is so consuming to me. This is nothing written down. This is all in my head because it's been there forever, okay? As a child, my babysitter was a fucking bitch in so many more ways than one. Not only did she watch me throughout my entire elementary years, right? All of grammar school. But she watched my brother and sister too. And she, of course, had kids. And there's so many stories that I can tell. I don't even know where to begin. Each one is just worse than the last. But anyway, one day, we didn't even know what was happening. We just woke up and there was like a new kid in the house, you know? That's what happened. She just appeared out of nowhere. And when she appeared, she was wearing a uniform. Like a school uniform. She was about 5 years older than me. Oh my gosh. Guys, it's a squirrel. It's a freaking squirrel. It's okay. I know you want to kill her. I know. So, that was just one of the things that happened, okay? Not to stray from my original thought process of like telling you what the deal is with this whole case. That was just one of the things that happened with this particular girl. She appeared out of nowhere in a private school uniform, in a private school girl's uniform, right? The plaid skirt, the white shirt, like a Catholic school uniform. And that was that. She just appeared out of nowhere and she was now living with us. And my mom's friend was living with us also. And so, you know, we welcomed this kid, whatever. You know, then things happened. You know, my mom was in a car wreck and she had to recover. It took her 3 months to recover. And while she was recovering, we had to get hauled off to our grandparents as kids. Because my mom, she was just down and out like all the way through. She had rolled her car into an embankment, which was an actual ditch, or here in the San Fernando Valley, it's called the Pacoima Wash. So she was traveling through the back streets of San Fernando on her way home from her second job because she was a single mother, and she had been drinking, and so she miscalculated a street and wound up in a ditch. And the wash is lined in rocks. So she wound up, you know, obviously not wearing a seatbelt in 1979. So she flew out the car onto the rocks, tore up her entire stomach. They had to reconstruct it. And she now has one of those mesh ones. I mean, I could just go on and on and on about the trauma that I had to, like, live through, right? So when I say that this kid that's missing with all the allegations that are surfacing is traumatic to the body and the brain and anybody that's watching this case, like, we're all literally united in this traumatic situation. So this woman, you know, fast forward maybe like, I don't know, 5 years later, and the kid's now like 13, right? Because we're talking childhood here. I can't even bring myself to speak on it because it's so deranged and unfortunate that just the thought of it makes me cringe. Yeah, long story short, CPS got a hold of them and they removed the child. And by the time she was 15, she had 2 kids from 2 baby daddies. Just the level of trauma that is involved in knowing a person that had to go through something like that in her life is unfathomable. And it bothers me. It bothers me a lot. And I don't know how I'm gonna recover from this particular traumatic experience that I suffered, because I had to watch that, right? I saw that. This didn't just happen overnight. This was a thing that was gradual. It kept occurring. It became normalized. The people were watching men come in and out of the house. They weren't coming in and staying long. The woman was going outside and sitting on her porch and waiting it out. Now you say, what kind of a person has loyalties to that type of particular person, right? Because when this woman died years later, my mom said, hey, you know, the babysitter's dead. She was so hurt and in pain that she had lost her friend. And at the time, this was recent, like maybe, I don't know, a couple years ago. And at the time, you know, I've been working on my personal, you know, well-being, and I've been doing so much work on myself that I'm able to recognize from afar, as in I see them coming, right? It's the way they walk, the way they talk, the way they act, the way they dart their eyes everywhere. It's like, what are they worried about? What's going on here? People are very telling, and all you have to do is listen. That's all you have to do. Listen. Just listen and watch. Watch them. Just watch them. And your adrenal gland is never wrong, okay? It's gonna tell you when something is off. That's your gut right there. That's your adrenal gland. It's gonna tell you. So trust your gut, you know? I mean, I love my mom to death. I really do. She suffered, you know, her own mother passed away when she was 10. So to say that the generational trauma endures, yeah, it just does, you know? You know, my mom was constantly on the run, afraid of people taking her children away. That's all my mother ever talked about. She didn't want her kids removed. That's all she ever said. In hindsight, now that I'm talking about it, I can see where she was going with that. I could see now today, as a 50-year-old woman, that she didn't want her kids removed. So she was always, whenever CPS came calling and looking around, she packed it up, man, and we went moving, right? Because my mom was fortunate like that. She had friends that owned lots of property, and they helped her with her kids rent-wise anytime she needed it. And they hid her. They helped her, right? So when you say that criminals run thick, right? They do. I'm not saying my mom was a criminal, but I mean, let's not, you know, pretend that people are usually, you know, guilty by association. It just is that way. So, yeah, you know, she ran with a tough crowd, my mom. You know, she had friends. The one guy that owned all kinds of property was like a gay man, like pre-80s and pre-AIDS. He had several boyfriends that he would just, you know, go to Mexico and bring them and then give them, you know, the run of things. And, you know, in the end, they were the ones that inherited his property and his properties, because he had like 10 houses all strewn across the valley, and they were all lived in by women like my mom's friend. And so they, of course, you know, anytime my mom needed help, like moving, getting out of the way of CPS, right? Because my mom never gave CPS a chance. She was out of there. And afterwards, she would go and, you know, tell, because she always had to get the Medi-Cal, right? The medical insurance through the government for the kids. So she always kept up with CPS because they always needed tabs. They always needed tabs. But that's not to say my mom was always one step ahead of the game. And that's what it's like to grow up amongst these types of people, you know? You see things as a kid that you shouldn't see, you know? My mom had this friend that was a tranny. Now, you could say what you want about how I describe him, but at the end of the day, that's what he was. He was a trans, male to female. But he couldn't afford the operation, and those operations weren't really that big a deal back then. We're talking 1970s, right? This fucking guy was like 6'8". He had bushy black hair. He wore makeup, and he still had a beard and a fucking mustache. To say that that was confusing for any child, never mind that. I used to be scared of that guy. I wouldn't even fucking look at him. I would just fucking look away. And he got the picture. I'm very intuitive. I could tell. That guy's bad news. I never learned what that guy was about, but today in hindsight, I can tell you a lot about him and that crack epidemic, most likely, right? People are disgusting. People are disgusting. Some of these people were loyal to my mother. And so she was loyal back. But my mom didn't raise no fool, and she told me without saying so, you gotta fucking keep that third eye open, because people are wicked, and you never know what they're up to. Now, I don't know if my mom knew about that kid, but I know that she knew that it was happening, and she was afraid for her daughter, meaning me. And she never told me this, but I can remember her saying something once in a car ride to the effect of, you know, I never did that to you. As if I should be grateful for that, right? Was it her way of telling me shut the fuck up? Was it her way of being a narcissist as usual? I don't know. And I don't give a fuck. You know why? As I have suffered enough, and I don't need to suffer anymore. I've suffered enough, and the suffering has to stop. Right? It has to stop. I need to suffer less. So right now, I'm not in contact with my mother. I blocked all my siblings because, you know, whenever something like a life-changing event happens, say for example, death, the people they literally go back in time and they behave a certain way to where the triggers are just non-stop, right? And your inner child is like clawing out of your body all of a sudden, like every single minute. And now you're being faced with, you know, the possible interpretation of your inner child and what it's trying to teach you. And my inner child is not playing. We're done. Because we grew up. And we're not having this anymore. We're not doing this anymore. We're not going to just look away. So when an entire community becomes complicit to a child, and that community includes the police department, the fat, out-of-shape guy leading the investigation who's got a bank account for donations. Come on now, you're gonna tell me that's not suspicious? You got a girl named Tiffany Marie peddling for a police department, right? You got a red truck parked in the police department parking lot that fits the description, but nobody's talking about it, right? Yeah. They're complicit. You know why? Because they're misleading you and me. We're all being misled. AB, Tiffany, Marie, who the fuck else is out there doing that? Shame on you. Shame on you. And you know what else? Your little charade, shenanigans, pretend I'm for this when I'm really not because it's all about money. Disgusting. But I get it. I live in fucking Hollywood. This is LA, Los Angeles, film capital of the world. So go ahead. Go ahead and take your part in the page, okay? Because we get it. You want to be famous. I'm already famous. I was famous in the 90s. You know why? Because I went viral before viral was even a thing. And if you came home on any given night and turned on your TV set past midnight, chances are I was the girl on that infomercial telling you, hey, come on, are you lonely? Please pick up the phone and call now. 999 or what was it? 679 girl? I mean, you got Chris McDonough talking about this isn't my first rodeo with a fucking lisp. Call me crazy, but the guy's got a lisp. I don't know if I can trust him. You know why? The adrenal gland. It doesn't lie to you. If it tells you this guy's kind of weird, he's probably kind of fucking weird. You know? To say I'm hypersensitive and hypervigilant is an understatement. If you fucking saw what I saw growing up, I mean, I was literally shown shit and then told that wasn't happening. I was literally walked through things and then told, ignore it. You know what that does to your human psyche? You got Michelle After Dark now talking about how Grandis came on the scene last night in a Patreon account and talked about, or her friend, I'm sorry, talked about how Candace came home with her and the kid was sick and not quite unconscious but thirsty. So now we've got dehydration playing into it. I mean, if you saw the muscle toneness of the kid in question, you don't have to be a doctor to know the child was malnourished. I mean, I remember being the exact same way. People are disgusting. And I'm not talking about Michelle After Dark, because she's shed light on quite a few interesting things, and she's brought on some interesting concepts. Not all with which I agree with, but I gotta hand it to the girl. She does her work. She's not no slacker. She's not just going on a live and spitting bullshit out of her mouth, right? Like the rest of them. Yeah, I said it, so what? What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do, right? You think you're gonna Eryka Jayne me? That bitch learned everything she knows from guess who, yours truly. Why? Because she worked with me for a year. She's the biggest biter in the world. There's nothing original about that bitch, okay? So take a fucking back seat right now or move it along. I don't give a fuck what you think. I really don't. I've seen this kind of shit before play out, and it never ends well, ever. You know, I consider my old babysitter's kids my cousins. And I love them. And I respect them. And we've spoken about this because they're a lot younger than me. See, the lady had other kids. After she got her 13-year-old taken away and she didn't get her back till she was like 15 or 18, right? And then to which where the whole fucking shit just continued, right? Nobody tells you this. You gotta grow up and figure it out for yourself. That's what I did. That's why I'm here right now. Right here. Right? Because I grew up. And I have to figure this shit out for myself. So to say I don't trust cops, I don't trust cops. Because they lie. Right? I don't trust cops. Because I worked for one for 20 years. I worked for a guy named Mike Woods who murdered his partner for financial gain. Because they owned clubs. And he wanted to be the sole owner. Because these clubs were making millions of dollars a year. In conjunction. And I happened to be one of the broads that worked at these clubs. Right? You don't retire at 40 for nothing. I mean, go look it up. Go read up on it. Go look for Mike Woods on the internet. Find out how he killed his partner for financial gain. Find out how he... Yeah, it just never fucking ends. How did I wind up at a fucking practical brothel, right? I'm no prostitute. I'm a fucking honest woman. Or I wouldn't be married right now. I'd still be out there hoeing it, and I'm not. And you gotta forgive me for my D-class-A verbatim, but I'm not here to sugarcoat it for you. If you need sugarcoating, like these crime-obsessed, you know, channels or criminal investigators or what the fuck have you, that's not my fucking business. It really isn't. I'm here to tell you what they did. I'm here as a witness to these kids to tell you what those people did to these kids. And it affected me. It fucking affected me. To say it didn't affect me would be a straight up fucking denial of what my life has been like. Because you never forget shit like that, ever. That shit runs deep. You never forget that. Do I have animosity towards my mother because of the way she raised us? Hell fucking yeah. But my mother was a product of her environment. She was born in 1946, that's post-war. And people were still running around crazy. I mean, look at the TV right now. They're telling you UFOs are out there. They've been out there since the 1950s. In Washington, D.C., a UFO came and circled around the fucking entire Capitol. What are we talking about here? Are they trying to derail the thing, right? Is this a Trump's nation type of thing? Like, what are we witnessing? I can't anymore. I can't pretend that I don't see what I see. And the YouTubers with the 13K views and the 44,000K views and the 113,000K views and for 4-hour streams. Each one has a 4-hour stream, and they do these nightly, and all they do is bash, 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 like family. That's all they do. Bash the family, judging, judging, judging. Oh my God. Who are we as a nation right now? Like, what is happening? You got child predator rings? You got Sunday school teachers thrown in the mix? You got an entire church, like, devastatingly stalking a little 5-year-old kid? Like she's on display? What are we witnessing here? Who are these fucking people? And what the fuck is going on in Tennessee? I mean, if I saw something like this go on for years and years and years, and I had to grow up and turn 50 to like be able to look back in hindsight and see with an open mind what was happening, I mean, no wonder my psychiatrist asks me, are there guns in the house? What the hell is she saying? I don't even like guns. My son was not allowed to play with guns. And people who brought him gifts for his birthday were always told, please, if you bring a gift, do not bring a gun. My son's not allowed to play with guns. He was told that from an early age. Why? Oh my God, really? You wanna know why? You wanna know why? Okay, I'll tell you why. So when I was about 3 or 4 years old, I witnessed a murder, right? My mom took us over to a babysitter. Her sister. Her sister lived on a hill in a beautiful little, you know, what do they call that? Craftsman's home? North of San Diego. South of San Diego. Yeah. We had just been dropped off. We hadn't been there like, I mean, I can remember it was sundown because the, you know, the sun was going down. I can remember stupid shit, right? Like my uncle had fallen to the ground. There had been a gunshot. The neighbor had come over and killed my aunt's husband dead. And there were 4 kids in the house. Me, my brother, and my 2 cousins. My cousins were younger than I. And we were very close. I never saw them after that. Because the grandmother came and collected them and blamed my aunt, and that was the end of that. You know, 5 years later, my aunt was in a car wreck and died. I mean, it's that fucking quick. That's how quick it is. Shut up. What do you want? You want your food? You need to wait. It's not even 8 o'clock yet. Is it 8 o'clock? Oh, it is 8 o'clock. Okay. Yes, I know. I feed you when I get up, but right now you need to wait. I'm on the phone. Go in the house. So, you know, I can sit here and tell you stories till I'm fucking blue in the face, man. The whole entire thing bothers me. It bothers me. And I'm going to talk about it. And if it brings to the surface my inner child, and I got to blast that kid out into the universe because she needs to be heard, guess what's going to happen? I'm going to blast that kid out into the universe because she needs to be heard. Yeah, do your research. You want to talk about me? Do your research. Look up Mike Woods, see what he did. He was a CHP officer for California Highway Patrol. He was on the Hollywood beat in the 70s. And they ran prostitutes. So many that when they retired, they had so many fucking millions of dollars that they bought the Bear Elegance and the New Jet Strip and the Valley Oddball Cabaret. And I was a feature at all those places. Everybody knows me. And I'm a local. Not only am I a local, I'm a fucking legend. Eryka Jayne bit me right off stage. I mean, she literally, like, stole my act. And you know what? God bless her. Because I couldn't do it. Where the fuck was I going to get millions of dollars to pay for Billboard chart topping songs that never even made it out of fucking, you know, the gay area of the music genre, right? That bitch can lie through her teeth. And the idea that she had the fucking audacity to tell Sutton, don't call me a liar. Bitch, you're a liar. Eryka Jayne, you're a fucking liar. And I'm telling you that. And if you remember, I worked with you. And you were a quiet fucking little bitch as a fucking mouse. And now you've got this fucking wild, talkative nature. You fucking fake bitch. That's what I think of you. I think you're a fucking liar. And I'll tell it to your face. And when was that filmed? The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. When was that filmed? Because you're a liar. You were a liar then and you're a liar today. And it's hysterical to me that you went on national television and told the world how big of an asshole you are. Okay, so that was my morning Sunday rant. I did a video last night about what I thought about the Michelle After Dark video that she did, shedding light on the lights. Remember the whites of West Virginia? Yeah. Go watch that. It's pretty fucking good. Like and subscribe.